Now on to the first round of the playoffs. I would say, yeah, let's start with the Western Conference. So you have the Thunder facing off against the Grizzlies, which actually is what we both have. So who do you have taking that matchup?
I have, this is tougher than it may seem. I don't know. Like obviously on paper you want to say the Thunder, but I think low key, even if they're not a better team, they don't have the depth that the Thunder do necessarily. I think the Grizzlies are sneaky because we've seen them go on some playoff runs in recent history. And I think like their window, like we talked about this recently when we were talking about the whole Josh situation, their window of like 2, 3 years ago when they were on the ascension, they were ahead of schedule compared to the Thunder, who are like on in that kind of similar place now, probably with a better record. But I think they got that experience a few years ago. Now, can that experience overcome what is like definitively a better team, like 20 games better? I don't know. I don't know, but you know what? Let's have some fun. I'm going with the Grizzlies to win the series. I don't know how much I really believe it, but I think that would be a fun matchup. And I'm not as good as the Thunder are. I'm actually not too hot on them personally, so I'm gonna go with the Grizzlies here.
Interesting. Okay, cool. I mean, I will say the Thunder isn't quite at full strength right now. Jalen Williams has been dealing with a hip injury, and he is a major part of their roster. But I will say, man, I believe in the Thunder. I think this is the year where they take that extra step. I really believe in this team. They got really close last year, and I actually expected them to make it further. And I think when you have a soul crushing defeat the way that they did, I think they're motivated. SGA had an amazing season, and I think he's proved himself as a top player in the league. So, I mean, not that we didn't know that going into this season, but he's been on a different level this season. So I have the Thunder taking this pretty easily. I know we're not actually. Let's do it. So you said the Grizzlies take it. How many games do you think they do it in?
Oh, it'd have to be seven. It would
Seven.
100% have to be seven. Yeah,
Okay.
I can see it.
Oh,
If it goes less than seven, it means that the Thunder probably won it. I think it would have to be they scrape a game seven, and then we see like a game winner, and then for game seven. Honestly,
got you. Okay. Cool. 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 I had the Thunder taking this in six. I was tempted to say five, but I think what we've mentioned about Ja is very real right now. He's also been in trade rumors, so I think he's really trying to prove a point and make it clear that he belongs on this team. Um, and it's very interesting. This may very well be Ja's last season in a Memphis Grizzlies uniform, which I think is wild to even say, but that is a possibility. That is a rumor that has been floating around. But I think he puts up a good fight, but the Thunder advance in six. Cool. Now on to the Rockets series against the Warriors. This is a very interesting matchup. You have a high seeded, young, exciting team going up against an experienced team in the Warriors that is just now clicking at the right time. So who do you have taking that?
I'm going Warriors, and maybe I'm leaning too heavily on experience in a couple of these matchups, but I think the because the records aren't crazy different. Like obviously the Thunder are clearly second seed compared to a lot of these teams with similar records below them. But really, like a 4 game difference isn't that crazy. And we're talking about the Warriors now, who, like you said, are clicking at the right time. Now they have Jimmy. It was earlier in the season. Well, one, they probably don't even reach this point, but then that's a completely different look. I think now having, like I said, the reason why I think they get past the Grizzlies is these key players who have tons of experience at this point versus like a Rockets team where or they're like a surprise package of the season. And maybe we see them if they take out the Warriors, honestly, that maybe propels them even further than I thought they would go in the playoffs this year. But I can't see him taking out the Warriors if it comes down to like I said, like if it comes down to a game 7 scenario. That's where you really want that experience for me anyway. So maybe next year, the year after, we're seeing them start to peak. But right now, especially on their way out, some of these Warriors players, I think they're going to be hungry for something more before they, hit those twilight years of the career. So I'm going Warriors.
100%. I'm with you. I think the playoffs are naturally a time period in which the new stars are born. This is where stars are born. This is where the players show out. This is where we get introduced to the new big names. Obviously, they've had an entire season and they've played it well, but no one's going to remember a good season from a team unless they make some noise in the playoffs. So I'm with you there. I think they have yet to really, if I'm being honest, gain the respect of at least the casual fan, which I think is fine. Like, that's not a dig on them. I think that's just every team naturally has to go through that. The Timberwolves, I think, went through that recently when they had that run. And, I actually thought they were going to make it to the finals last year before getting bounced by the Mavericks. But they really did have that excitement. They really did have that energy. But with that being said, like I said, I don't think the Rockets have just gained my respect just yet. And like I said, man, the Warriors, it's scary when a team is clicking throughout the end of the season. If the second half of the season hits and a team just finds their rhythm, that is very scary. It kind of reminds me of when the Heat made that run. They had a very disappointing season, got the 8th seed, and then eventually made it to the NBA Finals. So the Warriors are going to be a very tough matchup. I think that 7 seed can be a little bit misleading to the casual fan. So I too have the Warriors advancing. And, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Jalen Green and Sengun prove me wrong. But I think right now I have to roll with Steph, have to roll with the crew. And I think it'll make for an exciting matchup. I think I live for these matchups, So very exciting all around. Cool. Next matchup, Nuggets, Clippers. Very interesting. The Rockets, the Nuggets, the Clippers, and the Lakers all had a 52. Oh, actually, let me take that back. The Nuggets, Clippers, and Lakers all had the same record. Finished the season 50-32. So we have a very, very even matchup here. And I know you yourself are a Clipper fan. So let me hear, what are your thoughts?
Brother. I'm not optimistic. I'm not going to lie. Although I don't think it's impossible that we get this done. For me as a fan, I'd like to go in with low expectations. And maybe if I was a fan of a different team, that'd be different. Like, I think Lakers fans like to go in with high expectations all the time. But for the Clippers, knowing the amount of disappointment we've been met with in, I was going to say recent years, but we're talking like a decade at this point. I'm not going to think we're going to overtake the Nuggets. Even if we're not going to say, oh, this is the championship Nuggets team. It's pretty damn close. And we're still looking at Nikola Jokic, who's playing out of his mind. I know we might be looking at a Shea MVP, but personally, I'd probably give it to Nikola Jokic. To me, he's cementing himself as an all-time center. And I think that right there is enough to be the difference maker. Obviously, they also still have amazing players, Jamal Murray, Porter Jr., even a Westbrook, who, obviously he's not the Westbrook we know from when we were like growing up watching him, but still a nice piece. Aaron Gordon, just great pieces. And I think knowing his durability, that's something I can't guarantee for my team. I can't tell you that we're gonna play, even if this goes 6 games. I can't guarantee you we're gonna have our best lineup for 6 games. Obviously, no team can guarantee you that, but there's a high chance that we're not gonna be having our best player for 6 games, 5, 6, 7 games, in Kawhi Leonard. So But that alone, as much as I've been impressed by James Harden this season, it's been a bit of a renaissance for his career. Even if it's not like the 35 a game or through however much he was scoring back at the Rockets, I think he's really proven to start to age well with this game this year. And I really like Zubac. I've always liked Zubac. I think Zubac is one of the more underrated big men in the game. Norman Powell's had a great year, but you know, I just don't see it happening. And if it does happen, I'll be very pleasantly surprised. But I like to, aim low.
So that's the Nuggets you got?
Nuggets for sure.
Okay, cool. And I'm so sorry. I just realized we didn't mention how many games we had the Warriors advancing in the last series. So very quickly, tell me how many games you think the Nuggets will take it in, and then want to hear back on the Rockets and Warriors. But Nuggets and Clippers, Nuggets in how many?
Nuggets in 6.
Nuggets in 6. Okay, cool, interesting. This is hard for me, man, because I think the Clippers have really put up a good season, and they too are clicking at the right moment. So I think they actually have momentum on their side right now. And it's interesting to say because on paper, I 100% agree with you. I think the Nuggets are a more talented roster, but they've just been met with so much turmoil as of late. You fire your coach, you fire your GM. It's not looking good right now, and especially now with the playoffs about to begin, it's not the time where you want to have your team just out of sync. So this is tough, and as hard as it is for me to make this pick, I'm gonna roll with the Clippers. I would love to see Kawhi and Harden really have a good playoff run together. I've always believed in Kawhi. I think he's been hit with just a lot of negative press, and obviously it does come with, I don't know if good reason is the right way to say it, but I think he's earned himself a little bit of an underwhelming narrative ever since that Toronto chip. But I think this team has the pieces, and they've been a little bit of a sleeper this season, but I think you have a team with momentum facing a very talented team that is kind of a little bit out of whack right now. So I'm going to say Clippers take this in 7.
7,
And
okay.
Yeah. I think
will
you're
say,
going to need 7 games.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and I'm glad you say it. I'm not going to say it. I don't want to jinx my team, but I think Kawhi, I think especially that you say it, and I 100%, I've always believed in Kawhi. Even when he was on the Spurs, on the Raptors, I always liked him. And obviously when he ended up coming to the Clippers, then I was like, oh my God, like I was able to glaze even more. And I think there's even a point in time where I was making the argument that he was the best player in the league. And I know that might have been blasphemous for some, but I think he really is on that level in terms of a two-way player. The ability is always there, but as much as you can believe in his ability, I can't believe in his availability, which is unfortunate. So I'm hoping we're looking at a healthy playoffs. I feel like the Clippers always, like you say, they always start clicking around this time. And you're like, oh, Kawhi's back. We're looking at a little run maybe. And then something happens. Literally, it's just like clockwork. Obviously, I hope that doesn't happen this year, but I would not be surprised. And I'm done being disappointed at this point.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. And I think that those feelings come with good reason. It's tough because Kawhi is literally, like, in my head was just like, I don't know. I also put him in such high regard after that chip, and he's just like a quiet superstar who kind of just minds his own business. He's one of the best two-way wings I think we've ever seen, at least in our lifetime. So this is an NBA Hall of Famer, no matter how you slice it, right?
100%.
He's not going to be brought up in those conversations because, as far as just like you know, let's say there's a conversation about the greats from our generation. I think his name might get omitted. His name might be one of those forgotten ones, but this man has really proved his ability to perform. And I think if you put Kawhi on the Joker, I think that makes a very uncomfortable uncomfortable series for Jokic. And I'm gonna say, I know the injuries are always a question mark. I think Kawhi has at least 7 healthy games in him, enough for me to go with the Clippers in this matchup. So yeah, I stay on that. I stand on that, and I'm excited. So now, quick little backtrack. This Rockets Warriors series, and I might edit this just to remind myself, I might edit this and put it back. But Rockets Warriors, how many games do you have the Warriors taking it in?
I also think 6 games for the Warriors. I don't think it's going to be like smooth sailing, just because the Rockets have proved themselves to be a solid team. But I think they can get it done pretty relatively comfortably in 6 games, I'll say.
Yeah, fair. I'm gonna say, man, Warriors in 5. And again, might be disrespect, but listen, you have these teams. I know we're saying a 2 versus 7 seed, but the Rockets only have 4 more wins than the Warriors this season, and that's not considering the fact that the Warriors had an amazing second half. So, it sounds a little bit weird, but I'm gonna roll with the Warriors. Cool. And finally, the last matchup in the Western Conference, we have the Lakers and the Wolves. Very interesting teams. I think if we were going into the season, we would have actually expected these seeds to have been flipped. But here we are, man. Lakers are a 3 seed, Wolves are a 6 seed. So who do you have taking this series?
Damn. I'm a bona fide hater, I ain't gonna lie. So it's really tough for me to potentially pick the Lakers here. But I'd say, even considering how well they've played since the trade, and obviously getting one of the best players in the league and Luka on their team, I really like Anthony Edwards. Like, I really like him as a player. Obviously, I think it's tough going up against Luka and Bron, and obviously still Austin Reeves, who has really blossomed into a really solid player. Like, I really didn't see this coming a few years ago. Like, I always thought he was solid. But I thought maybe he'd be like, how Caruso, everyone was hyped for Caruso for like a year, and then he just kind of out of there. I think whoever is like that guy, random white dude on the Lakers, people just start gassing because the Lakers. But Austin Reeves, I think, has proven himself, and he's really developed this game. So I'm really impressed by him. But even Rui, I like Rui a lot. The Lakers, they're solid, but I'm going Timberwolves. And I wouldn't say I'm super confident in this one, but I really like Anthony Edwards. I think him, maybe to my detriment as a fan, him really locking in on becoming a solid 3-point shooter. I personally don't like it, because I think what I liked about Edwards was his aggression to the hole. I mean, obviously he still has it there, but he's really stepped up his shooting. 40% pretty much from 3 on the season. Like, that's solid. That's really solid. And I think that's like rounding out his game in a way where if he takes that shooting into next season, and then now that he's that kind of threat from the outside, he can mix that in with his aggression to the basket. I think he could be even more dangerous than he is now. And that's saying a lot, considering he averaged over 27 a game. So I'm going with the Timberwolves, but this one for me is really a toss-up.
Okay, that's interesting, man. And I think blasphemous, I would say. Even as a Knick fan, like, I know we're talking about the Wolves here, but we have Julius Randle, we have DiVincenzo, and I always wish former Knicks the best, but that's wild, man. I mean, this is LeBron and Luka. I can't count that team out. You have LeBron and Luka. I know they're a new team. I know they only have one more win over the Wolves, but I think this is a very what I'm saying is that I just want to see the Lakers and the Warriors duke it out. I want to see Steph and
Okay, so
LeBron.
just say that, bro. Just say you
No,
are also a part of the ESPN like Lakers propaganda machine, and you want to see LeBron and Steph in another series. Just say it's good for ratings, bro.
absolutely, absolutely. I'd be foaming at the mouth to watch that second round matchup. But I think all that aside, I still will roll with the Lakers, and I have. Not sure. Did you mention how many games you have the Wolves taking it in?
Oh no, I would say it would have to be 7.
Wolves in 7. Okay. Okay. I hate to be that guy because I am not a LeBron fan, but all
No,
the
no, no,
Lakers
no,
in
no, no,
5
no,
games,
no, no,
the
no.
Lakers, yeah. Listen, I'm not even gonna try to make my own attempt, but I too have the Lakers in 5. Has to be Lakers in 5.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's not crazy to say, but I just like the fact that it ended up being Lakers in 5 is just hilarious. Let me see if I can come up with one for you on the spot. Let's see. Minnesota Timberwolves. What rhymes with Timberwolves? Minnesota Timberwolves. God damn, give me a word that rhymes with Timberwolves, bro. I see why you didn't do this. This is not easy. Minnesota,
Oh, yeah, I
drinking
got you. I got
soda.
you.
Okay,
Oh, you
yeah,
got
yeah,
it.
go ahead, go ahead.
So you could have Ant. You may need to pay rent. Maybe giving up Lent.
Don't rhyme, bro.
Lakers in.
Ant, Ant, and Rent.
Yeah, I don't know. Rent was the best one, but Lent I was pretty
Crazy.
excited about.
Lent, okay, Lent rhymes with rent, but not Ant. Well, I got you. I got you. Minnesota, drinking soda, loving cola. That doesn't rhyme either, man. I'm done with this. Either way, Lakers are 5. I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, Lakers in 5 indeed. Yeah, cool, man. Cool, man. I'm excited to see what ends up happening, and once the second round rolls around, we'll see where these lie.